youtube.com/openupyourmind101.
Today we're going to discuss this very topic here. I will lead you into this conversation. If you have never been through depression, you probably had it, or you will. Yes, it is possible. Scientists have actually found out that when you read a book, you can actually change your thoughts, then change your life. It's not something abstract anymore. It's very tangible. And how does that happen? It happens because it changes the way your brain is activated. And when the brain is changed, the whole body is changed, everything else is changed. From a physical perspective, psychologically and spiritually, we know it's about changing thoughts. Thoughts are matter. And as Prentice Mulford once said, and actually entitled one of his books, thoughts are things. So we should really train our minds to be more aware of the things that come to our minds. Depression is certainly a condition of the mind. We are not here to talk about sadness. Oh, I feel sad, I feel the blues, I feel down. No. We're talking about a mental illness. We need to know what it is first. The National Institutes of the Mental Health say that more than 10% of the American population suffer from depressive illness. We're talking about illness. We're not talking about temporary sadness. And depression per se is a disorder. It's an illness that involves the body, the mood, thoughts. It affects the person. It changes the way you see yourself, life, everything. There are many different types of depression. And it's important to know because it's not one single type. So just to give us an idea of the types, there is what we call major depression. Major depression is a combination of symptoms that interfere with our ability to work, to study, to sleep, to eat, to enjoy something that once we found pleasurable, not any longer. For example, how many people you say, come on, leave your home, let's come and play soccer. And they're going to say, I don't feel like it. I don't like it any longer. Or they don't feel like it at all. There is a different type of depression that we call dysthymia, which is a very long term. It has chronic symptoms that disable the person from functioning well and feeling good. This is very critical. People in that condition, they don't work anymore. They're not able to work, to study, etc. This can happen to kids as well nowadays. We have the famous bipolar disorder, which once was called maniac depressive. And what happens in bipolar disorder, the person has very severe highs, the mania, and very severe lows, depression. And it's very tricky because some people don't realize they have depression, this type of bipolar disorder, because they have these highs. And they are like, oh, I'm doing so well. I love life. Wow, I'm going to build a hospital. And then in the next phase, they feel like not even showering, not even brushing, not even combing their hair or, wearing anything pleasant. It's very, very disabling. It's interesting to know that Abraham Lincoln, the great president, or the greatest American president of all times, he actually had bipolar disorder. You can read more about this on a book that is entitled Lincoln's Melancholy, How Depression Changed a President and Fueled His Greatness, by Joshua Wolf Shank. You can find this book at Amazon.com. It's very interesting because it gives motivation for people who are suffering from depression. They can probably see themselves in Abraham Lincoln's struggles and also bounce back up and trying to find a way out. It's very interesting because some people have asked questions asking, if I have a chronic depression, is it possible for me to really heal? And you see throughout the program today, my friend, we're not going to reveal your name, but you will see that it's not only possible, but as we speak, you are healing already because you are willing to get out of this. What would be the symptoms of depression? Because it's not only about sadness, it's much more than that. It changes your way of feeling, physically speaking, psychologically, socially, spiritually. First, the person has persistent feelings of hopelessness, pessimism, guilt, and you ask them why. Sometimes they have beautiful families. They have everything, the whole 9 yards, wealth, good family, and there is no actual explanation in that current moment. They feel the loss of interest or pleasure in hobbies and activities that once they enjoyed, including sex, for example, eating. They have decreased energy. They feel very fatigued. They feel like slowed down. They feel difficulty concentrating, remembering, making decisions. They have insomnia, early morning awakening, or they oversleep. They have a different appetite. Either they overeat or they lose weight. And the critical one is when depression presents thoughts of death or suicide and includes suicide attempts. That's very alarming. That's happening. You need help like as we speak. Don't wait. If you know somebody who's talking about, oh, I wish, when your teenager says for no reason, I'm going to kill myself. Do not think they're joking because out of so many things they could have said, why have they chosen that one? So they have something to be treated seriously. You may say, no, but they're not going to do something now. But later in life, they may. So you can go to the core root of their problems today. They feel restless, irritable. And that's quite interesting because people sometimes get confused about observing themselves as depressed because they can't understand how somebody who is depressed can become irritable. But I can tell you, the change in your neurochemistry, the chemistry of your brain, explains why you become irritable. Your serotonin levels are changed, your mood will be changed, and then you become irritable. You have persistent physical symptoms that do not respond to treatment, such as headaches, digestive disorders, chronic pain, and the whole combination of symptoms actually make up for the case of depression. It's not something that you can diagnose yourself. You should actually find help. The sooner you find help, my friend, the better it is, because the longer it takes, the worse it gets. And you understand this when we talk about the spiritual component of it. There are many causes of depression for sure. And you can talk about the medical view, the psychological view, the spiritist view. Medically speaking, some people talk about genetics, predisposition. And it's true. High familial predisposition to depression can certainly be triggered. But it's not fatal in the sense of, if my family, I have depressed parents, then I'll be depressed. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. There is an environmental issue that really comes across and a spiritual component that really defines it. So we need to observe the facts and then understand more when they unfold. There is, as we say, a cause, physical cause, in which we change the way areas of the brain are activated. For example, this study years ago showed that there is an area in the brain, areas in the prefrontal cortex that are less activated. And there is an area named Area 25, which is more related to emotional elaboration that is actually hyperactivated. It could possibly explain some factors in depression. For example, when people feel that they can't think quite properly or or clearly, and instead they feel a lot of emotions like hectic feelings that come to them. Their neurochemistry, as we said, is changed, mainly the serotonin and noradrenergic pathways. They are changed in the chemistry. Diseases can also predispose us to depression. For example, it's very common that people who have a heart attack soon after they have an episode of depression. So it's possible. Stress, when it's not treated, when it's not taken care of, can push us to depression as well. Physiologically, it's totally understandable. Psychologically, we know since Freud that life events can also trigger these feelings of grief that, if not treated and taken care of, can trigger depression as well. Repressed emotions, that's why we need to know of ourselves, dear listener. It's very, very important to know what is happening inside of us. Emotional awareness is so critical that we would say nowadays many people are suffering in the world because they are not taking good care of their emotions. They are really, really being taken by emotions instead of taking control of emotions. So something really to pay attention, our emotions, how we are doing in that regard. And guilt. Guilt is something that is so detrimental to us that it can create a whole cascade of events that at the end of the day we feel ourselves entrapped in depression. Now let's go to the core of it all. Well, we have the basics here, right? You and I, we are souls, immortal spirits living connected to a physical body. But the body is the instrument of the soul and not the reverse. We are connected to our physical bodies by our spiritual body, or as we name in Spiritism, perispirit. And why we are going to that very important concept? Because in Spiritism, we see depression as a consequence of several spiritual choices, decisions, experiences. It's not about something external, a very simple event that happened elsewhere. It's about a total change, I will say directly to you, dear listener, to the vibratory way. We change our thought, we change our vibration, we change the vibration of our molecules in the spiritual body. It's going to change the physical body's chemistry as well, and then we're going to be entrapped in depression. And this does not happen overnight. It's something we build over time. So we all need to pay very close attention to it today. What are we doing? Are you repressing emotions? Are you just feeling things, guilt, etc., anger, and you're pretending they're not there? Because these can escalate. We're going to keep discussing this very topic about the spiritual view on depression. You'll be quite impressed because Spiritism not only explains, but it gives solutions. And you want to hear about the solutions as well, deeper levels on the spiritual causes of depression. Begins in the mind. And you may be asking, how so, Vanessa? How does this happen? Well, Andrew Lewis, in the book Mechanisms of Mediumship by Chico Xavier and Vara Vieira, actually talk about the physiology of thinking. He talks about the fact that when we think, we actually are creating not only thought forms, but currents of thoughts, connecting with others, and so on and so forth. On chapter 4 of that book, Andrew Lewis tells us that our thought is actually a byproduct of, it's a byproduct of what we do with God's thought. It's immersed in God's thought. So we are co-creators. We can't forget. And the problem is, if we don't know how to think, we're distorting the beautiful thoughts of God. And that creates a lot of imbalance in our lives. Because we have the potential of embracing beauty, of embracing harmony, of embracing wellness, of embracing love, and instead we co-create sadness, anger, guilt, etc. Those come back to us in many ways. We suffer when we are distanced from the divine laws. We are like, surrounded by these laws, and when we want to distance ourselves, it hurts because we can't pass the boundaries. And we are brought back to the reality that we really have to adjust ourselves. To go deeper and deeper, I'll give you one key now. In the book Evolution in Two Worlds by Andre Luiz through Chico Xavier, he talks about the dynamics of diseases, morbid predispositions. And he says, anything, including depression, comes out of the awareness that we made a big mistake in life. When we realize we made, a choice that was really off track, we realize we messed up, it was a grave mistake. That, plus the remembrance of that mistake, will create, as he says, the mind of the spirit will create a zone of remorse in the perispirit, or the spiritual body, meaning the energy body, creating what he says a nodule of disturbance that will be vibrating, and that will attract the illness, the changed chemistry in our physical body. So everything begins when we lose sight of the straight pathway, not only depression, but any illness. That's how it all begins. It begins when we distance ourselves from the divine laws. So you can almost tell, based on this, that the number one therapeutic remedy to go back and heal from depression is readjust yourself with God. Revisit your feelings, your thinking of God. Revisit your concept of God, because we are far away when we are in depression. We are. I know it's hard to hear this, but it is true. We're far and we need to go back. So basically, I'll give you another tip as well. These tendencies in which we keep ourselves, very nostalgic, will weaken our willpower. Over time, we'll fall in depression. I know many people who have a depressive trait, and when you observe their lives, they love to be nostalgic, to reminisce about things. And I'll tell you, it's not good. The past is gone. We need to be in the present, sowing for the future. Think about it. At this very moment, we have an opportunity to sow for a new future. I know we are reaping the past at this very time, but we're also sowing for the future. So we have choices today. We're not entrapped. So you and I, all of us together, need to make wiser choices. How many lives have we lived totally unaware of this reality? Okay, it's past. Eckhart Tolle, in the book The Power of Now, he talks about depression being a state of the mind in which the person is stuck in the past, and it is true. People who like to reminisce, be nostalgic, who think that the past was much better, who don't like the future because they're scared, they don't believe, everything is pessimistic, they are in depression. Previous lives play a huge role as well. We made choices in the past that later on are going to impact in our genetic imprinting. The Dr. Inácio Ferreira, in the book Torments of Obsession, through the medium Divaldo Franco, talks about this genetic imprinting, saying that when the spirit reincarnates, its spiritual body or the spirit imprints those vibrations in the future genetic program, and it's going to, change the neurochemistry, the chemistry of the physical body as well. So we need to pay very close attention to our kids when they are very young, because we can treat these things in early childhood. 7 years. The first 7 years of life are transformative. Be a scientist for your kid or of your kid. Observe. I was recently pregnant, and we were blessed with the birth of baby Virginia, and I can share with you, we mothers can tell, if we observe ourselves enough, who the spirit is, the spirit that is coming through you. You can tell the feelings, the tendencies, the thoughts by the things that come through you. Don't be negative if you feel something negative, but be aware that you're going to be in charge to educate that soul, so he or she can lead a better life. If they are reincarnated, it's for a successful reincarnation. So there is big opportunity to change those tendencies, if and only if we coach ourselves and we coach our children to different pathways. And in the first years of life, starting from babyhood, you can also change those habits of the baby. Sing to your baby. Talk about God. Now we come to a few solutions here. So a group of researchers actually found out that spirituality, religiosity, prevents us from falling into depression, even in settings in which our whole families have a strong tendency to be in depression. Everything is going to get better. Problems shall pass. Joy shall be the trademark of those who understand that the good news of life is that life never ends. We always progress. If we cherish these concepts and these feelings in a daily basis, we change our neurochemistry. Depression is never, ever in a million years going to hit us. If we teach this to our children, we're creating a generation that is going to be prevented from falling into depression as well. You may be asking, is this it? Do we have more than that? Oh, yes, we do. We have more things that actually can sum up to the creation of depression. Spiritually speaking, that can push us into the abyss of depression. Choices in life actually can create depression. Okay, Andrea Lewis tells us in the book Evolution into Worlds that morbid predispositions or predispositions to illnesses actually happen when we made a big mistake and our conscience actually signal it, and then soon after we start creating a zone of remorse in our spiritual body, and that creates a nodule of disturbance that is going to vibrate and create illnesses in the physical body. That's how also depression unfolds, not only choices in previous lives, choices in this life, but we would also mention that unbalanced mediumship can also create depression. Because if we connect with minds that are having similar thoughts, that can also push us into the abyss of depression. In the book Mechanisms of Mediumship, Andrea Lewis tells through the hints of Chico Xavier and Valdo Vieira that the energetic home of the spirit lies in the field of the mind. So if you want to be more energized in life, change your thoughts. Change your thoughts. You can stop eating sugar, that's for sure. But if you don't change your thoughts, the vibration of your spiritual body and thus the energy of the physical body is not going to be changed. Each individual will assimilate only what I emit, So if other minds are connected to mine, let's say, sometimes I feel, I just feel a little sad. I want to be in my bedroom just thinking about that sadness. And then soon after, you don't leave the room because you're not going to be alone, my friend. Every choice you make, you have spiritual company. That's the rule of thumb in life. We're never alone. You're never alone. I'm never alone. If you are doing something, always ask, what kind of spirits is with me? What kind of spirits are with me? If you like violent movies, I tell you, no good spirit likes that. So the ones that will be around you are bad spirits, spirits that also enjoy violence. And I tell you, when you are around that type of company, you're in trouble. Because if you think that the minute you turn the TV off, they go away, they don't. They stay with you. You know why? Because they found a friend. They found somebody who likes what they like. They're not going to let you go that easily. So make wiser choices, because by simply indulging in certain behaviors, you can fall into centuries of madness. The choice of a minute can create a lifetime of happiness or of anguish. That's the law of the mental field, as Andrea Luiz explains to us. And that creates room for us to understand how depression can also be a byproduct of spirit obsessions. Obsession per se is defined in Spiritism as this persistent negative influence of less evolved spirits onto ourselves. So we would say, if you want to treat, you need to work at a multi-dimensional level. You need to work at spiritual, physical, emotional levels. You cannot only treat in one single way. You have to treat in multiple forms, okay? But spiritually speaking, you have to treat the mind of the spirit. You have to share spirituality. There's no way out. Some people say, I don't care about God, I don't care about religion. Well, my friend, I'll tell you this, you very hardly you're gonna get out of depression if you keep saying and feeling this way, because the number one cause for getting into depression is that very rebelliousness, is that very inner anger. That inner anger really settles for depression. So if you really want to get out of that, you have to change your attitude before yourself, before life. So we have to change our habits, acquire new habits. We need to acquire new habits. Our thoughts become materialized the more we think of them. Whenever you have conversations, create enriching opportunities, constructive ones, and do therapeutic visualizations and enjoy a new life, okay? At the very end, we're going to do a visualization for you that can be very helpful in regards to treating depression. Prayer is also a way in which we can cherish a new energy, new life. Science itself has already proved through studies by Dr. Andrew Newberg in Pennsylvania, he showed that when we think of God, cherish God, religious emotions, we change the activation of our brain. And if you change your brain, you change your physiology. If you change your physiology, you change your mood. If you change your mood, depression is out of the door. I would also recommend that for those who are already feeling depressed, go to a spiritist center to receive the passes, the healing energy work. Passes, by definition, is a fluidic magnetic procedure that has the sole objective of restoring the balance of the whole complex, ourselves as spirit, perispirit, and physical body. Also, another practice that can be quite transformative is to do the God at Home. The God at Home is a meeting between 15 minutes to an hour, it's up to you, in which you, by yourself or with loved ones, you can gather together to do a conversation between yourselves about spiritual passages. Ask for cleansing of the home, of our thought, for new health. You can also use your sleep time as an opportunity to heal from depression. When we are asleep, we regain the society of other spirits superior to ourselves. We may talk to them, gain instruction from them. Somebody else's intervention can actually trigger a cascade of healing events, okay? And that's also our number 7 tip for you regarding healing depression. Without charity, there is no salvation. Charity is love in action. We need to think more of others than ourselves. When we think less of ourselves, then we are starting to heal from depression. Because we need to think all the time, dear listener. The resources we have, there are millions, zillions of people in this world who don't have a third of it. How can we indulge into sadness, into whatever it is, if we have to roll our sleeves to help those who are suffering way more than we are? The minute we roll our sleeves to work for the benefit and happiness of others, we heal. Depression will not stay with us when we work for the happiness of others. There are so many people who need help. I would encourage you to decide on a project. You don't need to build a hospital to get out of depression. All you need is to learn that you're not alone, that you're loved, that you're protected, and that you also are unique, and you have lots of people around you who need you to be happy. You must be happy. Why? Because when we're not happy, people in our lives are not happy either. So it's an obligation. It's not a right. And if you are doubting it's ever possible to heal from depression, I will share something with you that I think you're probably never gonna forget. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you'll find. Knock, and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks, receives. For those who seek, they will find. And for those who knock, the door will be open to them. Meaning, if you work on it, you will get out of it, my friend. In this thought that we are already healed, there is a moment in this timeless opportunity in the universe in which we are healed. There is no depression anymore. If we connect with that very moment, we will heal. We will heal. It's just a matter of you believing and working on it.